Play 4 Dream promises jaw-dropping technical specs, from the Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2 chip to the two micro-OLED screens with well over 4K per eye, and a design clearly inspired by Apple's headset but made exclusively for gamers. From the design to the display quality, from tracking to available content, are you ready to find out if this headset will really shake up the competition? Let's get started. Play 4 Dream Technology defines itself as a spatial computing company. Founded in 2020, they quickly launched the YVR1 and YVR2, which were necessary to gain the expertise needed to launch the Kickstarter campaign that brought us the Play 4 Dream MR. Play 4 Dream is one of the few VR players with a full stack, meaning from optics to tracking to the operating system, outside the US, and aims to position itself as an alternative to Apple and Meta, especially for those who want a high-end headset but with more openness. At first glance, we already know what it reminds you of. In fact, the design of the Play 4 Dream MR closely resembles Apple's headset, but with some significant differences in the choice of materials. The front body features a glossy black plastic shell, but it doesn't house an extremely expensive display inside. This choice gives the device a premium look, but it also reduces its overall weight and cost. The buttons and finishes on the headset closely follow the design language of Cupertino's headset. On the front, the color pass-through cameras stand out. Two sensors, each with an impressive 32 megapixels, elegantly integrated and hidden behind the dark surface. The visual result is both futuristic and minimal, looking like the illegitimate child of the Apple Vision Pro and the beautiful Quest Pro. From the latter, it takes inspiration for the side strap and the rear battery pack, but unfortunately lacks the front forehead rest that gave the Quest Pro that extra touch to drastically improve comfort, something no other headset in the Quest series has ever matched by default. It must be admitted that it's not just about a premium appearance. There's real attention to detail here. There's also a focus on delivering a high-quality feel, like the facial interface, which is magnetic and interchangeable to make cleaning easier. All of this comes without any creaking or looseness of any kind, soft and pleasant to the touch. But the real highlight of the Play 4 Dream MR is its display and optics system. We're looking at two micro-OLED screens, well beyond 4K at 90 Hz, with HDR support. In terms of numbers, we're talking about an overall resolution very close to 8K, 3840 by 3500 per eye, so about 27 million total pixels, and an extremely high density of 45 ppd. I hope the 90 Hz limit is just temporary, and that we'll get a 120 Hz update soon, as long as the display can handle it. To make a comparison, that's almost double the perceived sharpness compared to a Quest 3. In practice, the visual quality is exceptional. Perfect deep blacks thanks to the OLED contrast, vibrant colors, and such a level of definition that it's impossible to see any kind of screen door effect. The lenses are pancake type, now standard in the latest generation of standalone headsets. This technology makes it possible to reduce the thickness of the headset, and it's a great match with micro-OLEDs, offering sharpness across most of the field of view. The only thing, I'm not sure if it's due to the convexity of the lenses, but there's a bit of glare inside when there are black backgrounds with white text. Very little, but noticeable. On the other hand, the sweet spot is wide. You can move your eye within the lens and still keep the details in focus. The automatic IPD alignment also helps optimize the sharp viewing area for each user. Mura, on the other hand, is not noticeable. Not here nor during the test I did at AW in Los Angeles. Forget about the PlayStation VR 2 OLED display. This is a whole different story. As for the FOV, I don't notice anything groundbreaking. It's a very small headset. We're in the same range as the Quest 3, maybe even a bit less given its compact size. On the other hand, I had no issues with binocular overlap, the portion of the field of view seen by both eyes, which is very good, even if not as seamless as with other headsets like the Crystal Light, which puts your face right up against two pretty wide lenses. As you've probably gathered, the display and optics of the Play 4 Dream VR are its biggest strengths. The combination of ultra-high resolution, OLED contrast, and good lenses delivers a breathtaking visual experience. But that's not all, because as I mentioned earlier, the Play 4 Dream also features an automatic IPD adjustment system using eye tracking. As soon as you put it on, the internal cameras detect the user's interpupillary distance and automatically adjust the position of the lenses accordingly. Alternatively, though, you can also set it manually to your preference. This not only improves sharpness, but also avoids the annoyance of never quite feeling like you're perfectly in focus. Moving on to the controllers, this is probably the thing that, at least on paper and even in person, convinced me the least. although in actual use it didn't really bother me that much. As you can see from the images, they're extremely small and have a pointed tip. I'm glad that someone tried to come up with a different shape from the usual MetaTouch controllers, but here I don't really see it as an improvement. Also, I've decided that I'm going to harshly criticize any headset that doesn't adapt its controllers to the VR needs of 2025, meaning we need more buttons. What you're seeing are leaked images of the Deckard controllers. They've realized controllers now need to do as many things as possible, and it's likely the Deckard controllers will be used for flat games, which will be played from inside the headset. So they've added more buttons, and do you know what's going to happen? When the Deckard controllers come out, then everyone else will start adding D-pads and 18 buttons, but until then we'll have to make do with controllers that still look like the MetaTouch ones. But why was I expecting more from these controllers here? Because this is mainly a headset for PCVR, and when it comes to native PCVR, there's very little new to play. All the new stuff is mods, and even the really good ones like Resident Evil need more buttons, whether it's for healing, the map, or inventory management. That aside, as I mentioned, the controllers do have haptic feedback, but it's very faint. It's definitely a step up from the Apple Vision Pro, which didn't have controllers at all, at least until PSVR 2 controllers became compatible. But to me, they feel like controllers that are just about passable, maybe slightly below average. This headset is often shown together with Alex, but Alex deserves much more. It deserves cutting-edge controllers that can even support adaptive triggers, just like those on the PSVR 2. As for the tracking of these controllers, there are really no more secrets when it comes to inside-out tracking, but I have to say that the tracking here is just about sufficient for standard activities. So it's not suitable for unconventional experiences like, I don't know, attaching the controllers to a stick to play kayak games, and it's especially not adequate for games like Beat Saber or any kind of Ragnarok. Let's just say I think there's still a lot of work to be done. Maybe without base stations and without markers for tracking, it probably won't ever be possible to have something truly reliable. The hand tracking, which you see images of from time to time, is still in its early stages. The hand is tracked, there are gestures, and there's a pointer, but we're light years away from the precise tracking of the Apple Vision Pro, which blended eye tracking and hand tracking extremely well. Here the hand remains tracked even when our hands aren't raised, thanks to the cameras pointed downward, but we're still in the stone age of control. It's not functional for intensive use or for managing many windows or different activities. So let's stick to the hardware side, and all that's left is to put it on. And I have to say that, when it comes to comfort, the only really positive thing is the magnetic and interchangeable padding on the front face pad. In fact, Play 4 Dream provides a facial mask that attaches magnetically. This means you can quickly remove it to clean it, and it's similar to the ones used by other premium headsets, a foam covering that's soft and very pleasant to the touch. But if you followed my adventures on X, right now the shape of the facial mask isn't suitable for Western faces because of the nose, forehead, or even the angle. But it's not just a matter of discomfort, it's really about the angle of the mask. The eyes aren't at all centered on the lenses, and it's completely misaligned for a Western face. This one you see here cost me about 30 euros. But that's not all. I also got some magnets on Amazon to make it magnetic, a globular cluster mask, and some adhesive Velcro. In short, this headset definitely isn't plug and play, not even on the hardware side. It's a headset for true enthusiasts and specialists. Play 4 Dream wrote on X that they're working on providing us with a proper face mask, but for now, this is how I solved it. But after the hardware, let's move on to the software, to the operating system of this headset, which is also standalone, in case that wasn't clear. We find ourselves in front of what is Vision Pro OS like. In fact, the headset not only emulates the hardware look of the Cupertino headset, but also copies its interface and user experience. The operating system of the Play 4 Dream is a custom version of Android based on Android 15 with an in-house developed interface, but the menus, navigation, and windows are heavily inspired by those of Apple's headset. Here we find the floating circular icons, semi-transparent menus in the space around the user, and virtual windows that can be freely positioned in the environment, all controllable with gestures. Basically, it's an almost perfect clone of Vision OS. So accurate in its details that it looks like an Apple product. The interface, since there are only a few things you can do, is smooth and responsive. Opening apps, resizing windows, or scrolling through a list with a hand gesture are all doable, but they're not as smooth if you've just used AVP 3 minutes earlier. So Play 4 Dream seems to have succeeded in bringing Apple's spatial computing experience to the Android platform, which is pretty interesting. but the execution isn't exactly perfect. I also think that as rumored it might come to the West with revised menus, because there could be some issues if it were marketed to us just as it is now. Anyway, the basic features of a modern standalone system are there. There's an home, an MR environment to launch applications, a control panel for quick settings, connectivity, casting, an integrated browser, and a dedicated app store. Let's say that from certain points of view, the experience is admirable. Overall, it's quite mature. In fact, for a product that's not yet mainstream, it's pretty remarkable. A sign that the team behind Play 4 Dream definitely isn't new to this. So, if you like Apple's approach to mixed reality but prefer to have an open system like Android, this headset could offer you the best of both worlds. The pass-through is good, although the images are a bit enlarged compared to real life, so there's still room for improvement, like my hands looks bigger than it actually are. The biggest issue with taking inspiration from Apple is that it imitates, but doesn't truly replicate. So everything inside is a Vision OS environment, but in practice, it lacks the power of the M2 and R1 chips. By turning the dial, you can switch from mixed reality to a virtual environment, but forget having 1,000 windows open with games, apps, players, and video calls with personas running while playing Diablo 2 streaming from your PC. The front doesn't have an integrated display, so forget personas avatars. It's like, I wish I could, but I can't. As for other MR content like mixed reality, the headset already offers some experiences out of the box, though not all of them are particularly interesting. There's a feature that lets you pin virtual objects in the real environment, and thanks to the high-resolution cameras, you can also take photos and record stereoscopic 3D videos of the real world, then watch them back in the headset with an immersive effect. The presence of the dual 32 megapixel cameras gives this content fairly high quality, but it's nothing we've never seen before. On the App Store side, currently Play 4 Dream has its own store where you can download applications and games optimized for the headset. If and when the headset adopts Google's Android XR, it could also gain access to the Play Store and the wider, more standardized library of titles, but for now that's still uncertain. However, it's already possible to sideload Android APKs, much like you do on Pico, to install third-party 2D or VR applications. As you are starting to realize, the Play 4 Dream is a device with two sides. On one hand, it is still immature in terms of its native ecosystem, with few standalone titles available. On the other hand, it is extremely interesting due to its use for native PCVR. Play 4 Dream itself describes it as a hybrid MR/VR headset aimed at gamers. And this is where the headset really shines, in its use as a wireless PCVR headset. It natively supports streaming, meaning it can connect to a PC and function as a headset for VR games. Basically, just like Meta does with Link and AirLink, here we already have out-of-the-box functionality to connect the headset to the PC either via cable or via Wi-Fi 6 and 7, and play your Steam or Oculus titles. There's even a dock-optimized version of Virtual Desktop, which combined with Wi-Fi 7 compatibility lets you make the most of the headset's quality. It's the only one, by the way, that supports Wi-Fi 7. It's definitely impressive to see certain games like Lone Echo in VR with OLED, without the limitations of the PSVR 2 display and with such a high resolution. So right now there's nothing at this level unless you go the Apple Vision Pro, but that doesn't have Virtual Desktop and has issues for gamers streaming and controls. Everything you've seen in these images, however, is running on a more than high-end setup. We're talking about two 3800 by 3500 OLED displays powered by a 5090. Here we can already comfortably enjoy native VR games because they're fairly lightweight, and here we're seeing them in their best possible version. The thing is, these are probably games you've already played, and aside from jumping in for 10 minutes to see how they look in their best form, you might not want to replay them. And if you're new to VR, let me take this opportunity to tell you that this is absolutely not the product for you. Let that be clear. Here, we're talking about a very specific niche within a niche. If you've never owned a headset, for the love of God, look elsewhere, get a Quest, a PSVR 2, or any other product. There are dozens and dozens of quality titles on all platforms that you should play before even considering this product. You'd be better off trying the Labo VR first, but this is definitely not the product to start with. So going back to speaking to a more experienced audience, I'll show you some benchmark references with UVR titles to give you an idea of how games perform at that resolution with the most powerful graphics card available right now. Handling 3500 by 3800 per eye is no joke, and here you can get a better idea of what to expect in terms of performance. The quality is not up for debate. It's true that maybe the lenses aren't the same as the AVP, but the display definitely looks great. I only noticed some very minor aberrations at the edges, but we're far from what you see with lower end product. Now I don't want to go on with the usual flattery, but here you're seeing Witchfire, which is definitely something that native VR will never be able to show us. I mean, there will never be a game made like this in native VR, you know? And thank God UVR exists, at least until we start seeing noteworthy products for the PCVR market again. I'd really love to show the folks at the Astronauts what their game has become in this setup, where you can enjoy something they probably wouldn't even believe themselves. By the way, we're playing it via streaming, and as for the streaming, the router I'm using is one of those recommended in the virtual desktop Discord group, and it's also the only one that supports Wi-Fi 7. I don't really think there would be any real issues using a more conventional Wi-Fi 6E router, which is the best you can get with the Quest 3, but in this case, we were able to experience the product just like we did when we tried it at AW in Los Angeles. I don't have much more to add to this PCVR section, except to say that we're looking at an excellent product. The only thing I want to add, something that had already impressed me during the hands-on at the trade show, is that since it doesn't have to run under Horizon OS, you can finally use the headset's various features while recording and streaming jumping in and out of virtual desktop without all the lag and sluggishness of Horizon OS. This happens because the Dream MR operating system is extremely lightweight and has almost nothing it needs to keep in RAM, so it's really pleasant to use. The only thing that might make you frown when you actually go to stream though is the headset's battery life. Of course, it's always a tricky issue for any standalone device, but even more so for a headset that's used to continuously stream a wireless signal. Here the solution becomes drastic, so I use the Play for Dream as if I were using an Apple Vision Pro, meaning with an external battery to extend its usage time. Basically, the headset's built-in battery lasts about an hour, so it's just enough for short demos or to move from one room to another without cables, but obviously an hour isn't enough for a proper gaming session. So I got myself a power bank that's not too big, but not too small either. 10,000 milliamp that outputs enough power to keep it charged. You can see here in the images with the meter how much power it outputs. This obviously increases your playtime significantly, but it does mean you need to have pockets to put it in. On the other hand, it does make the headset lighter, but it's a necessary solution since the headset and head strap are fixed and can't be detached, so there's no room for the various Bobo and Kiwi accessories. For me, this is a limitation in some ways, because having aftermarket head straps always helps with everyone's comfort and head balance needs. Instead, you're forced to get used to the shape of the headset and keep a battery in your pocket. If you also consider that at least for now you have to 3D print a custom face mask, which even though I'm satisfied with how mine turned out, isn't as precise as those designed by an established company. You can see that we're dealing with a product that's really not mass market at all. But now that we've reached the end of this long review, how much does the Play for Dream actually cost? Even though it costs less than the Apple Vision Pro, it's still a device estimated to be around 1,800 to 2,000 euros, depending on taxes and the distribution channel where you buy it. Through Kickstarter, you could get it with a big discount, but for now at most, I'll leave a $50 coupon in the description for anyone who might be even remotely interested. In short, we're talking about a price that's completely out of reach for the average consumer and is aimed exclusively at a niche of enthusiasts willing to spend. But spend to add to your collection. Don't get this as your first headset. On the other hand, we can't say that Play for Dream isn't at least trying to bring a breath of fresh air and cutting-edge technology to the world of virtual reality today. And if nothing else, at least there's one more player in the market. Born almost quietly from a Chinese company, it has earned global attention thanks to specs that not everyone can match. It combines the best of different worlds, the visual quality and interface of the Apple Vision Pro, but also the versatility of an Android PC, all in a single device. It's not the best device on the market course, but it does have its own appeal. But is it really worth it for an enthusiast to consider buying the Play for Dream? The answer is, it depends on what you're looking for and your budget. If you're not a beginner and your goal is to have the best visual and technological experience available today, so ultra high definition screens, pass-through, features like eye tracking, then yes, this headset could be a great addition to your collection. It will definitely leave you with a wow effect as you rediscover all your games and apps with a level of sharpness you've never seen before. It's the kind of product that reignites excitement in VR veterans, clearly showing that generational leap everyone has been waiting for: a native wireless, high-resolution OLED device. On the other hand, you need to be aware that Play for Dream is not, at least for now, a headset for everyone. The high cost and the fact that you absolutely need a PC that's also quite powerful to get the most out of it means it's mainly suited for experienced users with a good budget and a willingness to tinker. On the other hand, those who just want a headset that's easy to turn on and play with hundreds of ready-to-go titles will probably find the Quest 3 more suitable for their needs and budget, even if it means giving up top-tier quality. Additionally, the uncertainty surrounding support and warranty yet to be proved shows that buying Play for Dream today is a bit like entering the early access phase of a new product. So far, the signs are positive the company has kept its Kickstarter promises, but only time will tell if it can compete and grow alongside the other big names. However, if I had to give an overall assessment, taking all factors into account, the Play for Dream, if you can afford it, definitely deserves a positive rating. It's one of those devices that raises the bar and shows what will be possible on all headsets in the coming years. Its flaws, price, battery, and a still developing ecosystem limit its mass market appeal, but for the enthusiast niche, it's almost a must-have. But make sure you have a PC that's up to the task. That's all from Play for Dream. Thank you for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.